Welcome to the next episode of the Building a Bulletproof Back podcast. I think we're up to episode 25 now, which is exciting. And I'd like to say there's consistency in recording, but there isn't. It's about when people come along that stimulate me to think that would be a good chat. And so we record. And today we've got two people to chat to, which is a first. We've got Nicole Millar, who has a really interesting back pain story. And we have her treating therapist, Isobel Barak. And the two of them together are hopefully going to help us speak to this relationship between a back pain client and their treating therapist and about that dynamic, about what can be helpful, what isn't helpful. And their story is I know they have a really good dynamic between them, which has helped both Nicole and helped Isobel. And so I thought they would be ideal people to speak to on this topic, which we haven't addressed so far. So, Nicole and Isobel, firstly, thank you for giving me some of your time. And Nicole, can we go straight to you and just introduce yourself to the listeners, share a little bit about your back pain story would be a great start.
Cool. I'm Nicole, obviously. Bit about me, I'm dog crazy. I think everyone knows that now. Raising a puppy, guide dog puppy, and I've got two of my own. I love coffee. I love the winter time. That's something as well. Yeah, I like this weather today. It's lovely. I'm currently completing my psychology and counselling degree, and I'm also a qualified counsellor with a diploma. A bit about my back injury. I never really found out what the actual catalyst for it was, but I believe it came from playing basketball when I was a teenager and someone fell. I was on the ground and someone fell on top of me on my abdomen. And ever since then, when I was I think I was 15, I've always had on and off back problems. I'm also hypermobile, which I think that's a common issue of people with injuries or back injuries in particular. And when I moved up to Karratha, I was doing some exercise and I was doing a sit-up type thing, and I heard a pop in my ear. And then the next day I woke up and I couldn't move. I was in agony. And then the medical system up there is not fantastic. So I had an X-ray done. They thought I had slight scoliosis, so we're treating me for slight scoliosis, which I don't have scoliosis. So I missed that 6-week healing window. And then since then, that was, I think it was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago that happened. No, it must have been 10 years ago. So ever since then, I've dealt with back pain on varying degrees of, obviously, levels. I was getting pain injections for every year, every 18 months. And then in 2021, my disc compressed my nerve in March, and I didn't get seen to have a discectomy until December. So by the end of the year, I was using a walking stick to get around. It got to the point I couldn't walk. I couldn't sleep, so I was sleeping in like a pregnancy pillow in like a child's pose position with my head. I have a TENS machine on my back as high as it could go. I was on every medication. I had a pain patch. I was on a whole heap of opioids, nerve meds. So I had a little box I would carry around, which I just do at the moment. That's because I've had surgery. And then I finally got down in 2021 to have a discectomy, which I had permanent nerve damage, permanent ongoing damage. And then the pain it was always something I knew I'd have to live with. But this a month ago, had a spinal fusion to hopefully minimize or completely remove, but I don't think it will ever be completely removed, which is fine, but lessen my pain. So yeah, I think that's it.
That's a big story. That's a really intense 10 years, if not longer, of your life.
Yeah.
And so when did Izzy come in on that journey? And we'll go to you.
Sorry.
Izzy, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us at what point in that journey you met Nicole?
Yeah. So I'm Izzy. I'm actually Maz's business partner at Movement Solutions
Yes.
in Margaret River, which is
How
an
lucky am
awesome
I?
place to work. So lucky. How lucky am I? Um, and yeah, I'm a physio. I graduated in 2017 and moved down to Margs about 4 years ago, a bit more than 4 years ago now. And haven't looked back. I wouldn't live in the city again, that's for sure. Um, just some things about me. I like to travel. I love having deep conversations with friends about meaningful things. So this podcast is awesome. Um, I love the ocean, food. I'm a big foodie, especially like cultural food, traveling with food. That's my jam. And love being in my garden and all things movement. I'm really into aerials at the moment. So I've been doing a lot of like silk and pole and rope and hoop, which has been really fun and a new challenge for me. And yeah, I started working with Maz, must have been like 3 years ago now, maybe a bit more. And Nicole had just moved down from Karratha and come to find a physio who did some sort of movement base because she tried a little bit of Pilates up there. So she originally saw you, didn't she, Maz? And then I think you handed her to me for the movement stuff because I was really into reformer work. So yeah, we got to know each other. I'd say it'd be like over 2 years ago, between 2 and 3 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah. I think
And
nearly immediately when I moved down for 3.
yeah, 3. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And at that point, I think Nicole was in a stable position with her back. Obviously, she was having pain, flares, and she relayed to me her experiences of previous physios and previous Pilates studios. And we really tried to kind of nut out what would be helpful for Nicole in a movement program and kind of figure out what movements feel really good and how we can strengthen her in whatever ways possible. So yeah, she started coming to weekly reformer classes pretty much from then on. And I feel like I've seen some really awesome strength gains in Nicole in that time period. Obviously she's just come out of another surgery, which she explained before. So we're kind of in that rehab phase again. But before, I think she did a really awesome job at prehabbing prior to her surgery and kind of getting everything in order and the mindset in order, which is really important.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Prehab is uh yeah, I guess the back pain journey, especially one that involves hypermobility and instability, the strength aspect is huge. Um,
Yeah.
and getting some stability and then possibly Nicole, it sounds like it just wasn't enough stability, which is, where the
Mhm.
fusion comes in. But,
Yeah.
it sounds like you've set yourself up for a lot of success now that there's been that structural stability put in. Um,
Mhm.
and I love, Izzy, and I think, Nicole, you being a psychologist, man, you would be all over the mindset stuff that's required. You of all people know that our physical body can be hindered or harmed by how we think about it. And,
Mhm.
can you speak a little bit to that, Nicole, like in terms of mindset, what sort of things, or first of all, the previous experiences you had with physios or Pilates, can you let me know the difference between, like Izzy said, what worked, what didn't? What was your simple experience of what worked and what didn't?
Well, listening was a big one. On like understanding my goals too, because I never wanted to be immobile. And Izzy always finds a way to, if I can't particularly do something that I really want to do, we'll find something close to it or a way to work towards it. I always felt previous physios just sort of just treat everyone the same, I guess. Like they just do the same, lower back pain, do this, nothing ever changed. It was always, and you don't want to keep going somewhere if you're just going there to like pay money to do the exact same thing all the time.
Mm.
And I love movement. Movement part of what I use for my own mental health. It's a coping mechanism, and I just enjoy it. So yeah, it would always. I found people didn't work with the individual person in front of them. They always just were like treating everyone like, okay, so yeah, this is a back pain client, so we'll do this, this, and this. So yeah, the reformer. I never enjoyed the reformer when I'd done it previously. Yeah, so my experience is completely different when I met Izzy, and she's always adapted and evolved with me, and she always pushes me to try movement, or just try something to see how it feels, and it may not look the same as the person doing the exact same movement next to me, which to that within the mindset of it all, I think people with any pain, but back pain in particular, are scared to move, and then that ends up creating more pain because it's like rust. If you're not going to move it, it feels sticky. It feels painful. So finding movement that keeps you keeps you moving in some degree, I always feel helps. How little it is or how much you can achieve, doesn't matter particularly, but just the ability to move.
Yeah. And I think if you didn't trust Izzy, that she had a really great solid understanding of listening to you, reacting to what you feed back, when she did say things like, try this, I can imagine that's the scariest thing in the world to hear if you don't trust the person suggesting you try it.
Yeah.
So, Izzy, as a therapist, we've spoken about this before about the fear of movement and how to kind of work people through that. But would you like to speak to that about how you know who to invite to try something when they're so scared to try it and how you go about, I guess, that fear response in people?
Yeah, definitely. I think trust is a massive one. So, yeah, when you were sort of prepping this podcast, that was one of the big words that came to my mind, between both the therapist and the client. Trusting is like a two-way street, really. So I think that's a really, really massive topic. And yeah, overcoming fear, I'd say my best way to deal with that and deal with different people and on different levels of fear, the fear scale, would be really to listen to them, listen to their story, listen to what their past experiences are. If they've had lots of negative past experiences, I'll flag that in my mind of we've got to tread a little bit cautiously, maybe build the trust a lot first before we try to invite any new movements in, which there's so many other ways you can see clients on a weekly basis that don't stimulate that fear factor. So I think, yeah, doing lots of like therapeutic release work, like things that make them, their nervous system a bit calmer, and then slowly start to introduce like little bits of education, I think is my biggest tool. So while we're working on releasing, I'll be speaking about movement in general and how what that actually is happening in the brain, I think, as well, just so that they can understand, oh, sometimes my brain is like triggering a fear response, a heightened fear response, when really the threat of that movement is not as big as the threat in your mind. And we're kind of just trying to sort of get to that point where our movement matches what our brain responses are telling us. So even without even doing the movement yet, I'm starting to slowly introduce that education aspect. And then there's a time that feels right to sort of start to play around with movement. And again, with those ones that are a bit hesitant or have had those past experiences that aren't so nice, I'll always start with really basic movement and just get them feeling it and noticing their breath, noticing their tension. And sometimes even in those initial movements, I'll see like a little bit of a change in like, oh, I didn't really know I could do that without pain. It actually doesn't hurt. And then we can slowly start to increase the load. And then, as Nicole said, once the trust is there and they've been moving around for months, then I can start to kind of go, let's try this. And it will be a little bit of a harder, scarier move. But they're like, cool, let's give it a go, because they've kind of settled all that pain pathways in the brain.
Yeah. And I think if I think the body Like, it sounds like you're restoring their trust in their own body to give them the feedback that it will give them in the moment if something isn't appropriate right now. And I think that is
Absolutely.
something that's vital for people because you can't walk around with your therapist all day saying, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Like, I frustrate clients a lot when they ask me stuff like that, and I say, I don't know, ask your body, like, and I know it's a dig, but it's like, wow, like, why are you outsourcing your power to a therapist when you have this beautiful body that is just like screaming at you constantly from the inside about what's safe and unsafe? And it's there, it's all in us. And I guess I love as movement therapists, we restore people to free movement by encouraging them to trust that the body's going to guide them at whatever time period is right. Okay, so we've got two of you chatting and we're running out of time quickly. So I'm going to go straight to you, Nicole, and say,
Mhm.
can you pass on to me your top three tips for someone with back pain trying to go, I guess, find a therapist that they can work with, or things that you look for in a therapist?
Oh gosh, I didn't even know what I was looking for as such, but now I would be looking for just someone who does listen and does see you as an individual, which can be hard to find.
Mhm.
Um, Advocating for yourself as well, that's a big one. So not that I've really had to say it easy that I, no, this isn't like appropriate or whatever, but you know yourself and your back as well, and if get clear on your goals of why you're there, what you want from the sessions. I wanted movement, so I guess I found someone who supported that. Yeah, and then that built the trust, like as you were saying. Like even just when she asked me to do a bridge after my fusions or sorry, pelvic tilt, it was so terrifying. But I trusted Izzy that she knew that it would be beneficial, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my, if that is advice, in finding a therapist. It's just, and not being defeated by, if you do find ones that don't work with you, to not be defeated by that interaction. And there are people that will suit you or understand your goals. Yeah, that's probably a little bit of resilience in that, because you can come across some pretty crap people, or people that don't care, that have just got stuck in a rut with their work and they just don't particularly, they just run the day to day and it's just money for them. Yeah, trying to have that resilience to try and find the person for you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. They're really, really, really good key points that as therapists we don't think about. So love those. Izzy, what are your top three for, whatever you want to give top three on, whether it's back pain clients or whatever. Just give me top three of something.
Yeah, my top three were also very similar to Nicole's, actually, about about the therapeutic relationship. I think if you don't trust or agree or get along with your healthcare practitioners, then get a second opinion. And that also, I think, is relevant for surgeons. If a surgeon's telling you something in either surgery and that's not in your belief system, and you want to try to find other ways around helping your pain, go get another opinion. There's always other people out there that will be in your corner, like Nicole said. The other one is find a way to let go of your fear patterns and fear movement. And that's exactly like what you were talking about before, Maz, just trusting in yourself and actually knowing that your signals in your body are telling you the correct thing. And if we can get past that fear barrier, there's so much more movement and life that's unlocked, which is awesome. And then the third one, very specific to Nicole or people who've had back surgeries. Also another client of ours, she just went through her second surgery. The first one, she didn't have any Pilates or rehab, and her recovery was not very good. Then she's been coming and doing 2 years of Pilates, strengthening, control work, had her second surgery. It was a breeze. So I think prehab was my third point, and just getting to know your body and getting it as strong as you possibly can before you go into a surgery where you're going to be immobilized for a short period of time and want to keep those strength goals quite important.
Yeah, great. You girls are throwing things that we haven't talked about, which I love. Nicole, a bulletproof back, what do you think it looks like and feels like?
Um, I think it feels like I think you if you suffer with chronic pain, you probably always are gonna not probably, but you may still always have pain in some way or another. But I think for me, a bulletproof back, being able to move with that and like move in ways that help you mentally feel good and physically feel good. I think that's for me, a back that's able to be moved is bulletproof. With or without pain.
Yep, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And Izzy?
I think a bulletproof back, also a back that can move with ease, limited fear and quick recovery from any disruptions, and allows you to do the activities that you want to do, basically. I think it's a combination of strength and mobility in the spine, and just not letting it stop you from living your life.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more than six-pack abs. Can we all agree that?
Massively.
Woohoo! I've got that message out there, hopefully. I think, I think it's about the ability, like you're both saying, and it can be, even when you're in pain, you can feel relatively bulletproof, I guess, if you're able to do the things you want to do and you feel some level of confidence in the system. And there may be times when we do need to be in pain because we're healing or we haven't quite, there's been some level of trauma or damage that is there. And I still like to believe that in time the system is designed to heal. But they're belief structures that we can come to on a journey, I think, by just slowly every day noticing steady progress. And it doesn't matter if it does or it doesn't. I think the acceptance that it may not is a big part of releasing resistance to getting there. Whether you do or don't becomes irrelevant because you're feeling bulletproof relatively anyway. So I think that's a nice space to be in, Nicole. So I'm going to wrap up. I want to thank you both for your time. It's really nice to reflect and hear people's perspectives on back pain. And we trust that in having the conversations, others who are in that space of pain can learn, listen, and know that they're not alone, but to become also a little bit educated, like you're saying, Izzy, about different people, different perspectives on what's required with back pain. And Nicole, I think you spoke about it earlier as well. Not every therapist is for everybody. Certainly, the Bulletproof Backs method is not for everybody. It's for some people. And I would just like to, I guess part of the podcast is having people simply understand that back pain is about more than the body, particularly when you're stuck in it. It does have mental impact and it does have emotional impact, and those two things need to be addressed as much as the physical part of the pain experience. And hopefully by having the conversations, we shine a bit of light on that very fact. So thank you, ladies. We've got 2 minutes left. Nicole, do you have any final thoughts in like 30 seconds to a minute?
I've read my last point of something, and it's to find slithers of joy, because that helps your mind and your pain so much. So whether that, for me, it's like a nice coffee in the morning or like just little things that bring you that joy. Yeah.
Pleasure is the antidote to pain. So on our neurology system, there's a neurological basis for that tip. I love it. Izzy?
And be kind to yourself, always. Try your best.
And I think your laughter, Izzy, is the biggest thing clients say to me. Izzy's always so happy. She's always so positive. She's always so upbeat. She's so cool. I think that is a huge part of what uplifts other people. And, back pain it's a heavy thing that can bring us down as therapists when we're dealing with it all day. So your ability as a therapist to enter that space, upbeat, light, and happy is amazing. And, you shouldn't, I don't know how you've done it, but it's a really important skill for the longevity of a therapist to be able to be in that heaviness, but to be okay. So Yeah, that's a credit to
which
you.
is a sliver of my joy as well. Like yesterday, I was not going to come in, and she's going on holiday, and it was my last opportunity to see her or work with her. So I came, and it was joyful. So yeah.
Oh,
Thank you, ladies.
thanks, Nicole.
It's been a joy to chat to you
Thanks,
both. Thank
Maz.
you for your time.